Outlander Season 7 has just ended, and I'm speechless. I was expecting a lot from this episode, but not this twist, not at all. This was one of those times when book readers were just as confused as non-readers. So you're telling me that the stillborn child actually lived thanks to Master Raymond? That she had a life of her own, gave birth to 2 children, and something happened to her that led to her kids ending up in a brothel? I will discuss all my theories and try to find the best explanation for this. We will explore how Faith could have known that song, how Master Raymond saved her, and most puzzling of all, why the writers would let William sleep with his half-niece. Just why? Anyway, Starz has also released a sneak peek of Season 8, so we'll take a look at that too. Let's start, shall we? Roger and Bree. I don't know if it's because I have a cold and my body isn't feeling well, but I cried so much during this episode. Even seeing Roger and Bree finally reunite, sharing that hug, and Roger asking Buck if they were real, these were all beautifully written, heartfelt moments. What's next for them? Well, I think this was established in their final scene, where they discussed where they truly belong. Bree mentioned how much she missed her parents, and how strange it would be to stay in 1739, especially since young Jamie would eventually return from university. Besides, they wouldn't want to return to the 20th century and face Rob Cameron again. So, I do expect them to time travel to the 1780s and reunite with Jamie and Claire at Fraser's Ridge at the beginning of Season 8. What do you think? Claire's alive. Of course she is. The only question was how long they would keep us waiting to reveal her fate, and thank God it wasn't too long. Once again, Jamie had some iconic lines, like "My blood calls yours like its own." Now that he's not returning to the army, it's certain that Jamie will take Claire to Fraser's Ridge at least. That was the plan before Claire said faux. I still believe they will go to Fraser's Ridge. But first, they might ask about Frances and Jane's parents, possibly at the brothel where they were working. We could see an investigation storyline before the family finally settles at Fraser's Ridge. I'll discuss this in more detail in a moment. Jamie and William. Even though their conversation ended with William breaking Jamie's heart by telling him he would never call him father, I loved how William got to hear about his mother. And Jamie got to be by his son's side during such a difficult moment. All William had ever heard about his mother were negative things, but Jamie was able to tell him how bold and confident she was. I think William needed to hear that. They're still years away from full closure, but I believe William will eventually turn to Jamie for help. Jamie taking in Frances and being kind to her will definitely influence William's perception of him. As Lord John implied in a previous episode, people are not just heroes or rebels, it's more complicated than that. I think William will begin to see this other side of Jamie, a side that is passionate, brave, and fatherly. I do expect them to grow closer in Season 8, but let me know if I'm being too optimistic. Jane, Frances, Faith, and Master Raymond. Where do I even begin with this storyline? The little flashback scene at the beginning of the episode where young Jane and Frances hugged their mother was the first sign that something big was coming. Then Claire saw Master Raymond in her dream. From what we learned in this episode, Frances and Jane had a mother they deeply loved. Her name was Faith. Apparently, she loved dragonflies and believed that dancing lights in the sky were actually 100,000 angels dancing. She told her children that if they waved at them, the angels would reach down and carry them up to heaven. Last week, I was so curious about the title of episode 16. I definitely did not expect this explanation. Now, we understand why Jane was waving at the sky after drinking. She was hoping those angels would come and take her. That was probably the moment she knew what she was about to do. But we didn't know it at the time. Going back to their mother, something must have happened to her, because we know that Jane and Frances ended up in a brothel at a very young age. Finally, we learned that Faith knew a song written in the 20th century, a song we had previously heard from Claire. Is this Faith the same Faith Claire gave birth to in Season 2? Or is Claire simply reaching because she hopes her first daughter is still alive somehow? Is her assumption a misunderstanding fueled by her continuing grief over her lost child? There are a few possibilities. First, in the books, there is no confirmation that Faith is alive. After seeing the locket and the picture inside, Claire briefly considers the possibility that Faith survived. She even sends young Ian to ask the brothel owner about Jane and Francis' parents, but nothing comes of it and the subject is dropped. They ultimately assume that it's just a coincidence that the woman's name was also Faith. However, it's clear that the show is taking a different approach. In Season 2, it was Mother Hildegard who baptized and prepared little Faith for burial. One possibility is that Master Raymond somehow stole the child's body and revived her, keeping it a secret for decades without telling Claire. Perhaps Mother Hildegard also knew she had heard Claire sing that song to Faith, so maybe she later repeated it to the girl. Diana Gabaldon has already confirmed that Master Raymond is a time traveler, so it's possible he heard the song during his travels to the 20th century. Otherwise, how could a stillborn baby remember a song she never heard? Bringing the child back to life makes some sense. Master Raymond was a healer, and perhaps he had supernatural abilities. That wouldn't be out of place in Outlander. But what I don't understand is his motive. Why would he bring Faith back to life only to let Claire believe she was dead? Was it to keep his powers hidden? Did he revive her but decide it was best if Claire never knew? Another possibility is that Faith herself heard the song in the future. If she had the time-traveling gene, which is likely, since she was Claire's daughter, she might have traveled to the 20th century, heard the song and later sung it to her daughters after returning to the past. However, even if she lived long enough to grow up and have children, she seems to be dead now, because why else would her daughters have ended up in a brothel? If she were alive, they wouldn't have been abandoned. So whether or not she survived, Jamie and Claire won't be able to find their lost daughter. Of course, there's another possibility. Maybe this is all a coincidence, and Francis and Jane's mother learned the song from another time traveler. Honestly, I don't know how this twist will play out or what purpose it serves in the final season. Did Faith really survive, or is this just a series of coincidences? Let me know your theories. I can't wait to discuss this. What I don't want to talk about, the impossibility. Did William sleep with his half-niece? I just can't. R.I.P. Rollo. Before moving on to Season 8, I just have to say R.I.P. Rollo. You were so thoughtful, waiting for the arrival of another baby before letting go of your own life. As someone who has a cat and can't even bear to imagine losing him, that scene was especially difficult to watch. You were the best boy, Rollo. You will be missed. Season 8. Starz decided to release only a few seconds of footage from Season 8. It starts with a shot of the stones and Jamie's voice. When the day shall come that we do part, if my last words are not I love you, you'll ken it was because I didn't have time. This is a beautiful moment, but it's not new. You might remember it from Season 5, Episode 12. Claire and Jamie were standing on the porch of Fraser's Ridge when she told him I love you, and he responded with these now iconic lines. The fact that they included this quote in the teaser for the final season suggests that Fraser's Ridge will once again be central to the story in Season 8, as expected. But Jamie's mention of last words could also be foreshadowing. Since this is the final season, could this be a hint that Jamie's last words are coming? I, for one, am not ready to hear Jamie's last words. And I don't like that Starz is teasing not only the end of the show, but possibly the end of the characters themselves. Does this mean Jamie is going to die in the final season? Let me know your thoughts. Thankfully, we also got a glimpse of Jamie and Claire in the upcoming season. Season 8. To me, this looks like a rebuilt house at Fraser's Ridge. As you know, they were planning to rebuild their home in a different location, and I assume they've already done so and are now living there. As for the release date, Starz has only said coming soon. However, Blood of My Blood is set to premiere this summer, which means Outlander Season 8 will likely be released after that, either in late 2025 or early 2026. I wish I had more details, but I do have leaks and spoilers from Season 8. However, you'll have to check out my other videos to find out. There will be one for you to click on at the end of this video. If you also want a breakdown of the new Blood of My Blood teaser, make sure to subscribe to my channel. The video is coming tomorrow. Love you all.